everyone? This is Lucas Ross Sports. Lucas Ross, your commentator. We continue our 2022 college football predictions. The Purdue Boilermakers are up next. I'll give my thoughts on this team, give my official prediction for this team, and preview their schedule, and I will go from there. But before we do that, let's look back at 2021 for this Purdue team. Looking back at 2021 for Purdue, they went 9-4 overall. They went to the Music City Bowl, defeated Tennessee in that game. It was a really good season, I think, for Purdue. I think they have, momentum going into this year as well. Let's go take a look at the offense and defensive rankings for this team last year. They were 62nd on offense and then 34th on defense. So 62nd on offense, I think that offense should be better than it was last year. They should be really explosive on that side of the ball this year. Defensively, they should be a top 30 defense this year, I should say, and maybe perhaps be one of the top defenses in the Big Ten this season as well. So don't really sleep on that defense. Points per game and opponents per game, 29.1 points on the offensive side of the ball, and then 22.4 points given up on the defensive side of the ball. So my thoughts on this Purdue team, I think they're going to be really good this year like they were last year. Similar to last year, I think they'll be the same team, but is it really that time that Purdue wins the Big Ten West? I mean, they have a chance. I think the Big Ten West is wide open this year. With Purdue, I think they'll have a chance to maybe make the Big Ten championship game. We'll have to see what happens there. Here's the schedule for Purdue for this upcoming season. You see that opening game against Penn State here at home. And this is a really big matchup here to begin the season for Purdue. I think Purdue is perhaps, a favorite in this game by about a touchdown, maybe about 10 points or somewhere in that range. If this was on a neutral site game, I think I would pick Penn State. But like I said, home field advantage makes the difference in this game, and I picked Purdue to win this game as well. So I'm going to go with the Boilermakers to get the win against Penn State here on September 1st. I think they start out 1-0, and then they take care of business against Indiana State as well, playing them out of the non-conference. You look at who they play out of the non-conference as well. They play Indiana State, Syracuse out of the ACC, and then Florida Atlantic. So not a bad non-conference schedule for Purdue. I think it really sets up well for them. Here's that game on the road at Syracuse after that win over Indiana State. This is going to be a big one. I think, it's similar to a trap game here for Purdue. I don't really see it being a trap game. I don't think Syracuse is going to be all that good this year. I think they'll be an underdog. Perhaps maybe they can upset some teams this year, but I really don't see Syracuse doing that. But I like Purdue in this game. I think they come in on the road and defeat Syracuse here, and I think they do that, and they start out 3-0, and now they are 3-0. Now they take care of business against Florida Atlantic. They are now 4-0 after the month of September is completed. So they head now to the month of October, and this is where the schedule kind of gets tough for Purdue. They play Minnesota here on the road, and a tough place to play here. It's a veteran Minnesota team. I think this is going to be a good one, though. I think it comes down to both offenses in this game. Perhaps defense makes a statement in the second half. I like Minnesota in this game with it being on the road and also a 50-50 game. I'm going to go with Minnesota to defeat Purdue in this game. I got Purdue losing their first game of the season their first loss of the season to Minnesota. So it's a veteran Minnesota team. They have a lot coming back on both sides of the ball. So I think Purdue does lose that one on the road. Maryland is next here on the road as well. So you got back-to-back road games. You don't get a break there. You have to play Maryland here on the road. That's a Big Ten East matchup as well. So you get Maryland out of the Big Ten East. This is also a veteran Maryland team. They're going to be really wide open on offense this year. Defensively, they're going to be quite good as well. And this is another one of those 50-50 games as well. And I'm seeing this being a Maryland win here. I think Maryland does defeat Purdue here, and I think Purdue does lose 2 straight here on the road. Those are tough back-to-back road games. Let's be honest, those are tough back-to-back road games for Purdue, and I think they do lose both of them, so I got Purdue now at 4-2. Next game is at home against Nebraska here. This is going to be a good one. I think both of these teams are pretty even. I think Nebraska is going to be really better than they were last year. I mean, I think they had a lot of close games last year, let's be honest. I think Nebraska should be better, though. This one, I think, is a 50-50 matchup as well. I think Purdue, with them being back at home, they'll regain some confidence. They'll be fired up for this one after those 2 straight losses. And I think they end that losing streak and they defeat Nebraska here at home. So I got Purdue winning that one over Nebraska, and I think they do defeat them here on October 15th. Next game is on the road at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a team that everybody has a lot of question marks on. I think this game is going to be really interesting, though. I think it's a trap game for Purdue, probably. Perhaps. I think it will be, but 50-50 matchup here, I think, for both of these teams. These teams are pretty even as well, but with it being home field advantage and also on the road, I'm going to go with the Badgers. I think the Badgers will defeat Purdue in this game, and I got Purdue losing their third game here on the road at Wisconsin. So they get a bye week after that, and now they head to the month of November now to face Iowa here. So they're sitting there with a record at 5-3. This game right here is going to be interesting. Iowa here at home, and I know I picked Iowa to win this game. The reason why is just I like Iowa's defense in this game. I think they'll step up, and also the offense will be much better than it was last year as well. If Purdue can score some points on this game, I think it will be a shootout. If it was a shootout, I think it will be, a Purdue win, but I think Iowa's defense shuts down Purdue, and by this time, I think both teams will be better at the end of the season, but I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes to win. I'm really high on Iowa this year. I think they'll be better than last year as well. So I got Purdue losing that game. I know Purdue fans wouldn't agree on that game, but I'm going to go with Iowa anyway, so we'll go ahead and put it loss there for Purdue. Next game on the road at Illinois. This one is a trap game, I think, for Purdue right here. After a loss to Iowa, you have to regain some confidence once again. And I think they do that. I'm not really high on Illinois this year. I don't think they're going to be all that talented. I think they're going to be a really young team this year as well. They lost quite a bit of production from last year, and I'm going to go with the Boilermakers to get a win here on the road at Illinois. Northwestern comes up next year at home on November 19th. This is a really interesting matchup as well. I'm expecting this one to be pretty even. I know Northwestern has a tough schedule this year. I'm not really high on them to get to a bowl game, but I think they'll be better than last year, let's be honest. I think they'll be better. But with it being a home game and also a 50-50 matchup, I'm going to go with Purdue to get the win here. I'm not saying it probably will be a 50-50 game, but I think it will be perhaps a favorite here for Purdue. But I think I'm going to go with the home field advantage if it was a 50-50 game. And I'm going to go with the Boilermakers to get a win there on November 19th against Northwestern. Then they head to that final game of the season against Indiana here on the road. This is going to be an interesting matchup as well. Indiana's a team that I'm not really high on this year. They had a, tough season last year. I think they'll be better, but just not really high on this Indiana team, to be honest. This one, I think, is a trap game, though. I think it's going to come down to the wire. But I like Purdue in this game. I like their offense, and also I like their defense. It's a shootout game, and I think it comes down to a one-possession type game. But I got Purdue winning that final game on the road at Indiana. I think they do defeat Indiana here, but it won't be an easy task, and it won't be an easy game. So my overall prediction for Purdue comes out to be 8-4 for 2022. I could see this team going 7-5. I think worst case scenario will be 6-6. I think best case scenario will be 9-3 probably for Purdue. But I think this schedule really gets tougher. In October they have to play Minnesota and Maryland on the road, then Wisconsin on the road as well. So that is not an easy stretch there in October. Iowa is a potential win though. I'm seeing them I'm seeing this Purdue team winning the Big Ten West this year if they can. So I'm going to say they finish second though, just right behind maybe Iowa. So I mean that is my record for Purdue as well. So 8-4 for 2022. Continue to do more football predictions throughout this week. Stay tuned here for more on Lucas Ross Sports.